After Sheikh Yasir Qadhi was forced to state that the standard narrative has holes in it, Mohammed Hijab from Islamic Dawah team, who is the one who forced him to say that, decides to fill the holes. Approximate 2 hours of teaching and bullying and making fun of the Quran and Islam and setting up wonderful example. Let's hear how the holes are being fixed. But before holes are being fixed, let's just remind all of us who said what and what happened. Over a month ago, Sheikh Yasir Qadhi was asked about the qira'ats, which is also known by us as the different Arabic Qurans, and he expressed that the issue of the ahruf and the preservation and the qiraat and the relationship between them are very, very difficult issues, and the most advanced of our scholars not able to tell us what it is. And when he was asked how he could fill the blank musaf, what he would write, he simply said, actually, it's not simple yes and no answer, it is complicated, and one of those different Qurans he will write it down, express that the standard narrative has holes in it when it comes to different Arabic Qurans. And the video is being cut off, edited, comments are being hidden, and then videos are being made private. After all this, Mohammed Hijab from Islamic Dawah team, who is the one who forced Yasir Qadhi to unpack for everyone about those holes. I think if he wasn't pushed, he will never publicly state there are holes in the narrative. But anyway, that happened. So Mohammed Hijab decided to fill these holes. Let's hear him and then see how he's gonna fill these holes.
All of the major contentions about the Quran and the preservation of Quran, they will be resolved. They will be resolved. And it might sound like a brave.
Approximate 2 hours teaching, and he clearly says, once you watch this, it comes to the end of the video, you will be so clear that Quran has been perfectly preserved. Nothing personal, but very bad teaching skills, very bad communicator, and sadly no answer. Good thing was lecture was free, otherwise I would be asking for my money back. Let's hear what all happened. Let's hear what are those different Qurans and what is the purpose of these different Qurans.
Qira'at, which are 10 ways of accessing the Quran. There are 10 ways of accessing the Quran. And we access the Quran through what you call the recitations, yeah, the qira'at. And the qira'at are named after the main, if you like, recitational masters, yeah, who taught their students. Okay, so if you read Quran now, you're likely to read in Hafs and Asim. Okay, Hafs and Asim is a riwayah, which means it's Hafs is a student of Asim. Okay, Asim is this individual, okay, who was the master of Qira'at of his time. There is 10 major masters, but actually more than 10, but that we use now in the Muslim world to access the Quran.
There are more than 10 different Qurans, officialized actually. But they know, like, they pick the 10, and those different Qurans, which he labels that as qira'ats. That means you simply, that those are the ways you have access to Quran. It's like when you go to the palace, there are lots of different gates. You pick one gate and you get access to the palace. End of the day, it is one palace. End of the day, it is one perfect preserved Quran. Just different ways to get there. Makes sense, makes perfect sense. Makes very much perfect sense. And also, just a side note, the people which has been mentioned in the video, Asim, Hafs, Kalun, he didn't mention them, but all those people who has got their own Qurans. He forgot to give you the side note. Actually, none of them ever met with Muhammad. Muhammad never said, he never put his stamp, his seal on Hafs Quran. Yet there were more different qira'ats. They just picked 10. In 912, they are talking about 50 different Arabic Qurans. But 10 qira'at has been decided. It was actually 7 before, and then become 10, and then become 14 as the time went on. So those different qira'ats, those different Qurans are for you to access to the Quran. There are different Arabic Qurans. There are different doors for you to get into the palace. You can pick whichever you want. There are different Arabic Qurans for you to get access to the Quran. Just pick one of those Arabic Qurans. Yep, we all bought it. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful explanation for everyone.
First question, is there variation? This is a very important question. Is there variation when it comes to the 10 qira'at? The answer is yes.
There are more than 10 Qurans, but the question is, are there variations? He says yes. I wonder why they never failed to say that before. Dot by dot, letter by letter, sound by sound, it's all perfectly preserved. They put that introduction of their books. They lie to children, they lie to adults, they lie to the Muslims. Dot by dot, letter by letter, sound by sound, word by word, it's exactly the same. But now, August 2020, yep, there are variations. There are variations between different Arabic Qurans. Very, very helpful for us. So now I do hope that from now on we will never hear from any Muslim that actually Quran, there is only one perfect Quran. We just got to hear there are variations in different Arabic Qurans, but let's hear. So now we've got qiraat. Now it's been identified that different Qurans are the way to access to the Quran, and those different Qurans have variations. But let's hear, what is this so-called ahruf, which means actually different Arabic Qurans at the time of Muhammad is.
Within the 10 qira'at are explained through the ahruf. Whether you believe that the ahruf are exactly 7, because 7 could mean, according to many of the scholars, just many in the Arabic language, or you believe it's actually 7. That the ahruf are the explanatory mechanism that we use to assess the different variations of Quran.
Yep, that's the ahruf. There are approximately 40 different opinions, but in summary, ahrufs are the way helps you to get access, explain to the different Arabic Qurans. But according to Sheikh Yasir Qadhi, in his book Science of the Quran, an introduction to the science of the Quran, he simply says, yeah, there are lots of opinions, but bottom line is Allah knows best. Yet Mohammed Hijab seems to know much better than Allah. Whatever that ahruf was, please remember, Uthman got rid of it. But in somehow, those ahruf allows you to make sense of the qiraat, allows you to get access to the different Qurans. Just so far, I'm very much satisfied.
Do these differences have a narrative altering implication? The answer is no. It doesn't change the stories of the Quran. It doesn't change, and I'll say this tentatively, the second part, the creed of Islam. There are some of them which have an implication on creed, which I'll explain to you which ones they are throughout this webinar. But they don't have a narrative changing implication.
It doesn't give you different God. It doesn't give you different prophet. But because you've been telling people there is only one perfect Quran, dot by dot, letter by letter, sound by sound, word by word, it's exactly the same. Now that story has been changing. There are variations, and some of those variations change how you imply things. Let's continue, because he's gonna make a great case. All have to fill this hole.
So to put this in a question, what's the difference therefore between the ahruf and the Quran? The ahruf are the differences, or the types of differences. Yeah? The differences in the variation. The qira'ah is a choice. Listen, all the choices, listen carefully. Ikhtiyar al-qari, the choices of said master of recitation to incorporate one difference from another.
Ahrufs are the variations, and different Arabic Qurans is just a choice. Remember, it is a way to access the Quran. It is very much satisfying. It is very much satisfying how these holes are being fulfilled. How these holes are being filled.
But the ahruf tell us, and this is very important, that the Quran was always a multi-formal text. It was a multi-formal, it was not a fixed text.
Ahruf tells us Quran is multiform text. That means actually there were different Qurans. There were different Qurans at the time of Muhammad. There were different Qurans at the time of Abu Bakr. There were different Qurans until time of Uthman. And Uthman got rid of them. Multiform text. Word of Allah in many form and versions. Yet it is still the word of Allah. Different variations within different Qurans. And those Qurans are just way to access to the word of Allah.
Any difference to the Uthmanic, any manuscript you give me in the world that's different from what I'm reading in my salah and what I believe is Quran, I will tell you it's conceivable that that could be a harf. Khalas, end of discussion. So get me any manuscript difference, any in the whole wide world, sharqan wa gharban. Get me any one of them, please. And tell me here's something that's different. Make 1,000 videos, a billion videos. Write 1,000 books and articles, peer-reviewed ones. I'll read them and laugh, because you know why? I'll tell you, because it could be a harf.
So it doesn't matter there are variations in manuscripts. Doesn't matter there are variations in the Quran. Doesn't matter those variations has the implications to the creed. It just doesn't matter because Quran is multi-form text. It doesn't matter because qira'ats are ways to access to Quran. They just picked 10 ways to get access to the Quran. So far it is very much satisfying. So far it is very much satisfying. The question still stands. If you knew there are variations in the Quran which change the implications of the creed, if you knew those variations were a problem, if you knew actually you've got ahruf and then you've got qiraat and no one knows what are all those kind of things, you are just guessing games. Why without shame for centuries and centuries and centuries telling people Quran has been perfectly preserved to the dot? Why? That's my question. If this is the way how you fill the holes in the narrative, by simply going, oh yeah, we go with the majority view, there are 40 views, I go with one of them called Tabari's view. Not the heartbreaking one. I don't want to be the heartbreaking one. I just want to gently remind you that actually Tabari is not okay with the Hafs Quran. If they were just different ways to get access to Quran, those Qurans are different ways to get access to the one and only true Quran, then Tabari tells you he disagrees with Hafs Quran. I'm sure you already knew that and your heart is not broken. But here's the bottom line is kind of this. You will watch this video. It's altogether, I think, 1 hour, just under 2 hours video. And it has been expressed that
all of the major contentions about the Quran and the preservation of Quran, they will be resolved. They will be resolved.
So you watch the video, and if you have any questions on the perfect preservation of the Quran, if there was any problem which was causing you doubt or leave your faith, it shouldn't be any more doubt. Why? Because Mohammed Hijab fills the holes. Multiform texts, different Qurans with the variations. It doesn't matter if you bring him a Quran manuscripts which is much very different than Quran what he's reading. If he believes that is the Quran, he would follow. Very much disturbing, very much disturbing. But actually I'm not sure if those holes are filled in any form or any shape. It just helps me to see more holes, because as a Muslim I've got to believe Quran has been perfectly preserved, otherwise Allah is a liar. Oh well, you watch the video and you come to the conclusion, actually no, Quran has not been perfectly preserved. You've got different Arabic Qurans gives you access to the Quran on the different ways. That's already problematic. You've got Quran with always been multiform text. But it's all end up in this. There are holes in the narrative. There are holes in the narrative. Allah was not able to protect his book. Muhammad could not protect his book. Early Muslims could not protect his book. Mohammed Hijab, 21st century Muslim missionary thinks, yeah, let me dig more hole, and then I will cover up the holes. That's what is called perfect preservation of the Quran.